Hey, everybody. I just wanted to get with you guys one more time this week and just add one more thought on these last 2 weeks that I've been able to share on Sundays. There was just a little bit more that I didn't have time to share on this last Sunday, and so you can call this maybe bonus content, but it's just a little bit of just an additional thought for your week on how do we live in such a way that we keep our souls diligently? How is it that we incorporate remembering what the Lord has done? And this last week we talked about gratitude. A couple weeks ago we talked about remembering His Word and just the importance of how He has designed life to be lived, and He's given that to us. He's made that known through His Word, through His Spirit, through people, through His Son, Jesus Christ. And of course, last week, here just a couple days ago, we talked about how gratitude can greatly impact how we keep our souls diligently, and how remembering the things of the past can really be important and play an important role in how we live our lives in an everyday sense. And we need to be very intentional in our efforts. And that's kind of where we ended on Sunday, was just this idea of making sure that we're looking at our efforts and being very intentional with how it is that we approach things in life, the challenges, the ups, the downs, and all of the everything in between. Because if we aren't intentional in our efforts, then what ends up happening is we start to make it about us, and we start to be confident in our own abilities and the things that we are able to do. And we slowly, like I mentioned Sunday, begin to push God to the margins and forget about the ways that He has truly blessed us and the things that we have in our life and how that's come to pass. And the warning I gave 2 weeks ago was from Deuteronomy chapter 9 that Moses gives. And it says, "Do not say in your heart, after the Lord your God has thrust them out before you," the nations that they are going into the promised land and they're going to be taking from, "It is because of my righteousness that the Lord has brought me into this and into possess this land." We can't say it was because of me, because of my righteousness, because of that. And so now we've had the Red Sea moment. We've had all the wilderness wanderings. They're about to go into the promised land. And Joshua's preparing the nation again. And they're about to have another water moment. They're about to go through the Jordan River. And when that happens, when we read in Joshua chapters 3, 4, 5, that initial going through and Jericho moment and everything that goes with that, we see Joshua say, "I want to create a memorial here, and we're going to pull memorial stones. We're going to pull stones from the center of the river, one from every tribe. One person was assigned to go into the middle of the river where the priests were standing, and the water was held up in a heap," which is really pretty astounding that a whole nother generation gets another kind of Red Sea moment. But everybody that was younger than 20, so 15-year-olds, we're talking people that were in their 50s, walked through the Red Sea, also got to see the Jordan River. So they got to see it twice, what God did. And it's just astounding, amazing to think about that. But Joshua has them go and pull these memorial stones from the river and set them up because he doesn't want them to forget. And in Joshua chapter 4, starting in verse 4, he says this, "Then Joshua called the 12 men from the people of Israel, whom he had appointed, a man from each tribe. And Joshua said to them, 'Pass on before the ark of the Lord your God into the midst of the Jordan, and take up each of you a stone upon his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the people of Israel, that this may be a sign among you. When your children ask in time to come, what do these stones mean to you? Then you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it passed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall be to the people of Israel a memorial forever." A memorial forever. And it was to remind future generations. This was to be so that when you had kids and grandkids show up and go, Why are we doing this? What does this mean? Why did this happen? What did God do? We can point to and say, this is because, and point to the fact of the things that God has done. We place memorial stones. We do this in our own modern day times, right? We have memorial stones for people that have passed so we can go and remember our loved ones just in cemeteries, but also big monuments that remind us of great people from our past, from the presidents that we've had to great leaders. There's lots of memorials that point us to those kinds of things and remind us either to avoid certain things or be inspired by certain things. We have war memorials, we do celebrations, we do birthdays, we do all different kinds of things like that. There's plaques and trophies, all different manner of ways that we remind ourselves of victories and remind ourselves of these amazing moments. We do this in our own worship services. That's what baptism is. It's a sign, it's a memorial in a lot of ways. Communion, it's a sign of what it is that we're remembering that God has done for us through the broken body, the shed blood, and we take the bread and the drink and we remind ourselves, God, you're amazing. God, look what you did. And it's a continual putting it in front of us, and it's a command that is given to the church so that they don't forget, so that they can pass it on to future generations. This is my body that was broken. This is my blood that's poured out. Do this in remembrance of me. That's what Jesus tells his disciples. Do this in remembrance of me. It's a memorial. It's like a memorial stone of sorts, like what Joshua, and we read similar things all throughout the Old Testament. Matthew Henry explains the benefits of remembering God's mercy toward us this way. He says, it greatly magnifies later mercies to compare them with former mercies. For by making the comparison, it appears that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And we hang that on our walls. You can buy those signs at Hobby Lobby or whatever. But he is. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Later mercies should bring to, this is Matthew Henry still, later mercies should bring to remembrance former mercies and receive our thankfulness for them. When we look for God's love and protection in our everyday lives on purpose, when we're intentionally seeking that out and we're on purpose looking for those mercies, we're looking for the ways that God has done things in our life and provided for us, and we're making that a part of just our everyday routine, we can look at things and say, look what God did for me today. Look how he provided. And we begin to give credit where credit is due. We begin to see things through the filter of heaven, and we begin to see things as God sees, and how he is really active and very much a part of what we're doing in our everyday lives. And this is a big deal. It should be, a big deal in our lives. We should seek to remember the things that God has done and see him at work in our everyday lives, because he is at work and he promises that he will be at work, and he is faithful and he is just, and all these great themes that we read about in Scripture. But God is faithful. But maybe this needs to be your prayer today. And maybe you need to set up a memorial stone of some kind in your life, something that is that marker, that reminder, that when you walk in the room, you see, and when your kids look at it and go, why do we have this on the mantle? What is that for? It's something to say, you know what, God did this in my life. God provided for us when we were really in dire straits. God healed in this moment. God, you fill in the blank, right? Wherever God's doing in your life, do you have things that are reminders, that are markers, signposts, you could say, that point toward what it is that God's done in your life? Psalm 56, a couple pieces of that passage I want to read real quick. Psalm 56, 3 and 4. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. In God, whose word I praise. In God I trust. I shall not be afraid. So often we live in fear. We move away from seeing what God's doing around us because we see the world instead. We see what's happening around us instead of seeing God in the midst of what's happening around us. And so when we're afraid, we need to be reminded to put our trust in him, the one who is faithful, the one who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Psalm 56, a few verses later, 9 through 13. This I know. And if you have nothing else, take this with you this week. Just these few words. This I know, that God is for me. Verse 9 of chapter 56 of Psalm. This I know. It's definitive. I know. This I know. God is for me. In God, whose word I praise, in the Lord, whose word I praise. In God I trust. I shall not be afraid. What can man do to me? I must perform my vows to you, O God. I will render thank offerings to you, for you have delivered my soul from death, yes, my feet from falling, that I may walk before God in the light of life. I ended last week by saying God's all cannot be praised with any less than our all. God's all cannot be praised with any less than our all. Will you give him your all today? Will you give him everything? Will you begin to seek him in the mundane? Will you begin to seek him throughout the week and begin to witness God at work in your life? And will you bring the praise and the gratitude that we need to bring every single day when we recognize and we realize God is at work. God is at work in your life. And so I pray that that's encouraging to you. That was a little bonus piece of content that I wasn't able to get in on Sunday or the last couple weeks. But it's just a little mini word for you for the rest of this week. And I would just encourage you with what I also ended on Sunday with, the book of Joel, that would just be a call to our hearts. And I'll close with this. Joel 2:12-13, yet even now declares the Lord, return to me with all your heart, with fasting and weeping and with mourning. Rend your hearts and not your garments. Return to the Lord your God, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love, and he relents over disaster. Our God is gracious, he is merciful, he is abounding in love, he is for you, and he's calling you home. He's calling you, return to me. Return to me with all that you are and all that you have. I have good things for you. And so if you would like prayer, please comment or email us. If you would like to maybe start a journey with Jesus Christ, same, reach out to us in some way. We'd love to see you on a Sunday, and we just pray that this week is amazing for you. But remember to seek God with all of your heart, to see him at work in your life this week, and to give him all the glory, honor, and praise and gratitude. And remember the things that God has done in your life and will continue to do, because he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. God bless.